All right, Roto Grinders, here we are. It's Sunday Fun Day. I'm amazed I can actually do that with a little sore throat that I have, a little raspy cough, too much traveling, too much going to Charlotte and Denver and late nights and weather and all that good times. But Bills, talk to me. What happened yesterday? I heard you were playing off in the high roller suite.
Yeah, it was actually by accident. I was exporting my team, and I noticed that it seemed like a high number of games in play, but I didn't really think twice. I was just trying to get the teams in on time, and then I realized why, and that's because I joined the high heat, the late night one at least, and I was only 10 men, but luckily I came in first in that because I was not happy at first when I discovered that I was in that tournament.
So, was it just a sinking feeling? Was it sad? Were you scared? You played some 535s last I heard in hockey. That's more
Yeah,
than
I
I
mean, I've
play.
been there. It was just I've won most of those like from tickets. This was just a mistake, and I wasn't really in the mood for that. But once it started, I kind of sold myself. Maybe this can work out okay. And then D. Gordon somehow hit a home run, which was very lucky for me. So, but I'll take it. I'm not complaining.
All right, we got some fun going on today, and it's Sunday Fun Day. So there we are, and it's Father's Day. So happy Father's Day out there to all you dads. Happy Father's Day to my dad. I'm the best since I just did that on international TV. I wished him a happy Father's Day, and of course I'm the best son because I was the first son. Huh, there we go. All right, let's talk about pitching, Warren. Let's just dive right on in here. Who are you going for? Are you going with the Sharks or are you going with the Jets? That's a little probably an older reference, one that you may not have taken that in English class yet, but it's a take on Romeo and Juliet,
Oh,
modern style, modern as much as the 50s. West Side Story, Warren. West Side Story. It's a good one.
probably
But
studied that. I wouldn't know.
the Sharks would be Bumgarner. The Jets would be Price. In the middle, we're trying to make our decision. So, which way are you leaning on that one? Those are my top two pitchers on the board.
Yeah, well, on our sponsor DraftKings, they're also the two most pricey, so it's actually not that difficult to work them in and make a good lineup today, I've noticed. So I think if you can get both of those in cash games, usually I've noticed DraftKings will inflate the top two pitchers, so they're like 12K, but today they just seem to have left them at their normal price tag, which it's going to make for some probably some higher scoring lineups today with the bats. But yeah, those two are probably my top two. But yeah, I hate to just read off the list, but going down one pitcher below, Hisashi Iwakuma at home against Texas. Iwakuma, he's going to get some run support today. He's scoring off against Nick Martinez, who is awful against lefties, and the Mariners throw a ton of lefties his way. Not necessarily recommending a Mariner stack since they're just simply not very good. However, I can see Seattle, scoring 4 or 5 and actually getting their pitchers some run support, which is something they often choose to do. But I can see it happening today. Texas, they have that good top of the order. They have Leonis Martin now leading off, which I was wondering why it took until June 14th for that to happen. And I hear your dog in the background agreeing with me. He's barking at Ron Washington. But, yeah, they have Martin, then they have, Beltre, Chu, and Rios, and then it's just AAA from anywhere below that. So their lineup's pretty shallow, and that bottom part of the order is going to be some quick innings for Iwakuma. Now, his strikeouts are a little down this year, but he doesn't walk anyone, and I have no problem substituting strikeouts for my pitcher to go deep into the ball game, which he seems to do each and every game. So I like Iwakuma a lot, and I think he's safe for the win as well. Well, you can't really be safe for the win, but I think he's got a good chance at the win. Now, another guy I like is Ian Kennedy on the road facing the Mets. Now, people may be off him because this game is not in San Diego, but if this game was at Petco, I guarantee you he'd be one of the highest-owned pitchers of the day. But he pitches just as well away from home, if not better. He has a lower whip, less home runs allowed, less hits allowed, and a lower ERA away from home. So he's basically, the same type of pitcher at home and on the road, and he's facing an awful, awful Mets team. So I could see him being a nice pick, but hey, there are some really expensive bats that are worth considering today. So if you want to go really cheap, I don't recommend you watch him pitch because there's a very good chance it won't work out, and there's a very good chance he could blow up. But he's been striking guys out a lot this year and walking people a lot, and he's facing the Padres, and that is Daisuke Matsusaka. Never thought I'd recommend him on a show ever again, but he's actually been very good in his. Or he's been pretty good in his 3 starts. And last game against Milwaukee, 6 innings, 3 hits, one run, 5 Ks, and if he has his stuff working again against San Diego, you never know what he can put together. And he is very cheap, so he's got the potential to come close to matching some of the top pitchers. I'm not going to say he's going to because his walks tend to hinder his ability to go deep into games, but he's shown in 2 starts this year out of 3 that he has the ability to put up nice scores. So are you going to be able to stomach Daisuke?
I think I will, actually. Looking at his price on FanDuel, I think he's like 4,600. I don't mind throwing him out there in some 3-man, 5-man, 10-man, because the bats you're going to get are just going to be insane. And I feel he'll have a decent chance to stay in the game. If he goes 5 innings, 6, 7 Ks, a couple earned runs, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, you can spend on these top guys, and you're kind of hoping for that. I mean, it's not like the top pitchers are just going to go out and spin shutouts every game because that's just not how baseball works. So, I mean, you have a guy in Daisuke who's proven 2 out of 3 starts that he can match some of these bigger names, and he's like half the price facing the Padres. So, definitely someone to keep your eye on.
All right. Over under 2.5 starts until he's on the DL.
Probably, I'm going to say over. I think he's, who knows, he'll probably get hurt. It's a close one. Very good line.
All right, we'll see. A couple other pitchers out there. We have James Shields. Now, I know you're not a huge James Shields fan today. I like his K upside. White Sox strike out a lot. Tell me about the downside of James Shields. He's been scuffling a little bit lately. The more I looked into that, the more nervous I got. Not nervous, however, about the weather. Looks like there's a solid 2-hour window at least before anything's going to hit the Chicago area, so we don't have to worry about that. But do we have to worry about James Shields' talent running out today?
Well, he's been giving up a lot of hits recently, and he's had a couple starts, including 2 starts ago against St. Louis, where he's not striking guys out. 4 starts ago against the Angels, only 4, 3 against Baltimore. So he's giving up a lot of hits. He's given up 41 hits in his last, I believe, 6 starts or something. 5 starts. Wow, that is a lot of hits to give up. He's giving up an average of more than 8 hits per each start, and he's not striking many guys out consistently. But he did own the White Sox last year. He had a great start again against them this year. But I don't know. I think with Jose Abreu in that lineup, it's time to disregard last year. And really, I'm not a fan of looking at stuff like that too much. But it is something to keep in mind when he owned them in about 5 starts last year out of 5. But I think with Abreu in that lineup and with Chicago not being a terrible hitting team anymore, I think it's best to steer clear of Shields. And I just think there are better options right around his price range on DraftKings.
All right. A couple other pitchers. Corey Kluber bringing the K-hammer. Man, when did he turn out to be just a strikeout superstar? We got to mention him. We'd be remiss if we did not.
Yeah, and he's only 8,800 too. And this is kind of one of those power versus power matchups, except the Red Sox have this image of being a powerful team, but they're really not that good anymore. They're not really a scary lineup, and I think they will be down the stretch. I think that you're going to see guys like Napoli and Ortiz and Pedroia. I think you're going to start to see their stats normalize down the stretch. But Kluber, it's easy to kind of write him off after having 2 inconsistent starts, or 2 poor ones, I should say. But you look at the starts before and the upside that he has. I mean, if we're going to start categorizing him as an ace, shouldn't we be playing him like no matter what, is what I'm trying to say. So look at someone like Bumgarner, who's been really consistent all year, but you look at in the middle of May, he had 2 really crappy starts, or 2 pretty mediocre ones, and it's safe. You could kind of swear off a guy like that, saying I'm never going to do it again. But all these good pitchers, they have their off days, and fortunately for you guys interested in Kluber, his price actually dropped because of those two bad starts. He was up to about 10.3, and now he's at 8,800. So this is a very good time to buy low on him. The matchup isn't ideal because I do think the Red Sox are better than this, but the way they're hitting now, I can see Kluber being one of those hidden gems who strikes out 8 or 9 and actually makes up for some of the runs he may give up.
Yeah, and that's one of the numbers that I liked is he has 8+ strikeouts in 6 of his last 8 games. So that's a nice cushion to protect from a less than stellar outing. 2 of the pitchers I want to throw out there are Jaime Garcia and Doug Fister. Now, there's a bit of rain that's going to be sitting on top of that St. Louis game versus the Nats in St. Louis, so I'm a little nervous about that. I'm not as nervous about Fister. He's a pretty tough guy, but Jaime Garcia is kind of a delicate little flower, much in the same vein that Steven Strasburg is. So if there is a delay, I don't expect him coming back. Not that I fault him for treating him with kid gloves. He missed like 14 months with, I don't remember if it was Tommy John or shoulder surgery, whatever it was, but he's been out for a long time. So I'm a little more nervous about him than I was previously. Not as worried about Fister. In a surprising move in his last start, Fister was covering first base more, and he reached out to take the ball from the second baseman on a catch, and he actually did the full splits.
Really?
Like butterfly goalie. Oh, yeah. I can't believe he didn't end up on the DL with the torn groin. And so they were showing this on the game last night, and they were asking him about it, and he said, well, that looks like it might have hurt. He said it really didn't. You can't plan for those things. He said, I actually played first base in college, so I've done that before. But he said, I wouldn't want to think about doing it. That was more reflexes. But holy cow, if I would have done that, I would have been on the DL for about 2 years. So who knows? In any event, I think he's a tough guy, so not that that matters here nor there. But I don't mind throwing him out there. And there's only been six runs scored in those 2 games so far. So just neither team's hitting very well. So I don't mind putting them out there. All right, chat. If we missed anybody that you would like specific information on, let us know. Otherwise, we're going to roll on here into catchers, and I want to start off with Devin Mesoraco. I was all fired up for him yesterday going against Giovanni Gallardo. He wasn't in the lineup, but he is today in what potentially could be an even better matchup against Marco Estrada. You know, Estrada's on pace to give up some crazy thing like 47 home runs. He's already given up 20 home runs this season.
I know, it's pretty crazy what's happened with him. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's a terrible pitcher, but when you miss, that's generally what's going to happen, and he tends to miss up instead of down. So 20 home runs allowed. A lot of them to right-handers, and right-handers have hit for average against him as well. Now, Mesoraco is slumping, so I'm not sure if I'd recommend him in cash games. He's batting. I mean, as a one-for-one matchup, I definitely like the opportunity there, and I think that anyone in this Reds lineup can hit a home run. Even Billy Hamilton, he did it yesterday. Yeah, Billy Hamilton and D. Gordon on the same night. Isn't that crazy?
Not sure that it's allowed. Not sure that it's allowed.
I think it was a bit of a glitch. I think things will normalize today in baseball.
All right. You know whose party I have not been attending this weekend?
I do
not. That would be Evan Gattis. Home run Friday, home run last night. Can he make it 3 in a row on Sunday Night Baseball?
Absolutely. And he's facing Hector Santiago, who, in my opinion, is a very, very bad pitcher. And one interesting stat on Santiago is that he's kind of a good ground ball pitcher against left-handers, but against right-handed hitters, they have a 58% fly ball rate, and that is why he gives up a good number of home runs. He gave up 14 last year in 104 innings to righties. Now, he's no Marco Estrada with the home runs, but he is still not very good. And facing a guy like Gattis who's on fire and crushes lefties, batting in the middle of that order on Sunday Night Baseball, I just think that's a really, really nice play.
All right. That really doesn't. I was counting more on some punts for catchers or looking to the Oakland catching platoon. Today it would be Derek Norris. So you got to look at that. I'm looking out here for a few cheapies, just seeing who's out there. We got our old buddy Nieto here batting ninth for going against Shields. That doesn't really excite me. Another cheapie, Eli Whiteside, or is it Whitside? I don't know because I've never heard of him. But he is playing for the Chicago Cubbies today, going against one A.J. Burnett in a righty-righty matchup at 1.8 on DraftKings. We got to at least look at that one, don't we, Warren? Can you tell me anything about him?
Nope. I know he's not very good, but I know nothing about him. I just know he's 1.8 and he's a punt. And you can have success with punts too. I mean, it just basically allows you to spend on anyone you want. I mean, if I take Eli Whiteside and with the pitchers being cheap, I can just load up on my bat. So I'm definitely not against that, but just, if you can stomach a 0, then fine.
All right. Check if Madison Bumgarner is gotten bumped today. Oh.
Really?
No.
Who said that?
Soul Stealer. Interesting. Let's see. I don't see anything about it just yet. Oh, let me check. Soul Stealer, are you doing an early-only game set? That may be the issue. So check your game set first.
Yeah.
Looks like he's playing. Okay, back to crappy catchers not named EMac. Anybody else that you would look for today?
I haven't seen all the lineups just yet. I know a lot of them come out late. But catcher, I do it occasionally, but I don't think it's a really optimal strategy because, these top-tier hitters, they really aren't a guarantee, and I think it's just so much easier to find value hitters at other positions that actually have a chance at producing. So, for example, instead of punting with Eli Whiteside and spending at your outfield, you can punt your outfield with Kyle Blanks, who has like an 880 OPS or something since being recalled to the majors, and then spend on someone like Norris or Gaddis or something. So I think that's probably the most optimal way to do it. I'm scrolling through the list here. I'm trying to find the cheapest kind of playable casher. You'd almost actually hope for points from him. And I know that A.J. Ellis is back and facing Bronson Arroyo. He's 3,000. I don't mind that, but I definitely don't love it. But righties have hit Arroyo pretty hard, and Ellis, I believe last night was his first or second game back, and in each game he had a hit and a walk, and 2 walks in his first game back, 1 last night. So he's reached base 5 times in his first 2 games back from injury, and he's very cheap compared to what he is when he's normally hitting like he did last year.
All right, so for those of you watching this slightly on delay or just audio only and you don't have the chat, crisis averted. Madison Bumgarner is pitching today. Soul Stealer was in a shortened game slate, which was why, shockingly, San Francisco wasn't available as an option. Sometimes that happens. I've done a lot of dumb things in my time, but I just want everybody to calm down. We're all good. Nothing to see here. But what do we have to see at first base there, Warren? Is Lind in the lineup today? No.
He's not. He hurt his toe yesterday.
Yeah,
I don't know. He got hurt playing DH. He always gets hurt doing something. I'll just be honest. My computer is on low battery. I'm just going to get my charger so I don't disconnect on you.
I'm going to talk for a little bit. You go get your battery. We call that in America a rookie mistake. So Warren's going to go take care of that. While we're looking at that, I got a couple guys that I want to mention at first base here. Paul Goldschmidt, awesome. Awesome against righties, awesome against lefties. Just too much awesome to go around. Very pricey, though, but I do like him today. Cruising on over in Team Badass is also Miguel Cabrera. All right, so we're just going through the easy ones till Warren gets back and remembers his Charger's actually in the other room. On real analysis, I'm going to dig a little deeper for you guys today. We were talking about trying to find some punt plays at catcher. The punt plays might actually be at first base today. I think if you look at Billy Butler and James Loney, they're both down there on the majority of the sites, kind of in the dregs, and I think they're both in okay spots if you're looking to save a little coin, and as Warren mentioned, you really don't want to go too low at catcher. So that takes care of the high end with Goldie and Cabrera, and the low end with Butler and Loney. One guy I really want to point out on FanDuel, move a little closer still. Joe Mauer, 2.4. Oh, he'll be in most of my cash game lineups today. I'm liking that. Looking at the middle of the tier, Joey Votto. I'm going to let Warren talk about him a little bit. I love his matchup, but he doesn't really hit for power anymore, and I think we all need to just come to the realization that he's a different type of player now. Not that he ever had a ton of power, but I want to talk about power, and when I think of power, I think of double dong potential with Anthony Rizzo. Lefty-righty matchup today against A.J. Burnett. He's in Philly. It's going to be good times. Rizzo has a lot better plate discipline this year, and he's seen almost a 200-point increase in his OPS this season as compared to his career average. So I really like Rizzo today. Warren, hit me with your first baseman, but talk a little bit about Votto. I'm curious what your take is on him. I like his little price, but I think you're going to get what you pay for.
Yeah, you actually mentioned you don't like going too low at catcher, but I'd love to go too low at catcher. That'd be sweet. See what I did there?
I did. You've been working with me too long now. That's
Yes.
my kind of joke. All right.
It is. Yeah, okay, Joey Votto. Now, he goes to Milwaukee here, and I'm going to set another over-under for you, speaking of working with you and getting your ideas. How many home runs does Carlos Gomez rob from Joey Votto today? Because that seems to be the only thing Carlos Gomez likes to do to Joey Votto is pull back home runs to dead center field. So I'm going to set it at the over-under at 0.5, and hopefully the under, because I like Joey Votto today. And you mentioned his power is a little bit down, but he's the type of guy who he still has a 445 slugging this year and 407 on base. So if he's not hitting for power, he's at least doing something for you and getting aboard and getting you points, which are very valuable because, taking a guy at first base who goes 0 for 4 and does nothing it really hurts. And Votto does have that ability to, I guess, hit home runs at times. He's not the most powerful guy, as you mentioned, and he can be frustrating. He takes a lot of pitches, including a lot of hittable ones right down the middle. But he's had a lot of success in his career doing that, and his ability to get on base and in a good matchup, it just makes him a safe play. And I know there really aren't many safe plays, but I'm talking safe where you're going to almost surely get a few points out of him no matter what he really does. So I like Votto a lot, but looking at the same price point, here's a guy who's really been frustrating this year and a guy who's been pretty cold, but he did have 2 hits last night, a hit and a walk the night before, so maybe he's coming around. He hasn't struck out in either of those 2 games, so he's putting the ball in play, and that is Adrian Gonzalez against Bronson Arroyo. Now, I know Arroyo's been reverse splits this year, but at the same time, you look at his career numbers, and it's hard to it's hard to look at these numbers and say that he's suddenly become a reverse splits guy because lefties have crushed him his entire career, and he actually hit the ball very nicely a few times last night. So I think I like him. He's a bit pricey on DraftKings, but on FanDuel at 3,300, I don't have a problem. So I'm on Agon, actually. He's kind of one of my sleepers today, and I don't think many will be on him. Another guy I was looking at was Mike Morse. And I really didn't like this guy last year. I didn't think he was much of a hitter, but he seems to have found a home in San Francisco, hitting .333 at home, .535 slugging, and facing Juan Nicasio has been absolutely terrible. And Morse has 3 multi-hit games in his last 4, and he's hitting for extra base power, driving in runs, and he's been arguably San Francisco's best hitter all season long. So Morse with his .896 OPS often flies under the radar, but for 3,900 at first base and outfield eligible, I definitely like him today.
All right. Yeah, I was just looking at DraftKings here. Do you know that Shelby Miller missed the win? He came out of the game, and I forget who it was, like Randy Choate or somebody came in, got a 1-out victory, and then Garrett Richards had the win taken away from him. That cost me like 8 points on DraftKings. I had a pretty good night, but it would have been so much better if I would have had those extra 8 points. I think I would have got another $400 or $500, Warren, and I've been scuffling on DraftKings. But they are our sponsor, so that's why I wanted to mention them. I thoroughly enjoy DraftKings, especially on Sundays, Warren, because I can just run people out in the Sunday night baseball game and not have to worry about getting backups in there because of the late swap feature. Now, teeny tiny little risk today, but we've got plenty of time to figure it out. You got to watch out for that weather in Atlanta. I think there's just going to be scattered showers. We're not going to be taking the pitchers in that game. It's Sunday Night Baseball. They're going to try to play it. And it's Angels. They're not like they're coming back to Atlanta anytime soon, probably in 3 years. So that game they will try to get in no matter what. So I'm not too worried about it. But just wanted to throw that out and mention DraftKings, our sponsor, since we are at the 12 o'clock hour. So, Warren, anything else out there on first base that you would like to discuss? Or shall we move on to second base?
I feel like I'm forgetting someone, and
I feel like you are too.
How about if I come back, or if I remember it, I'm going to just digress and just totally change the conversation and remember my first baseman that I really liked.
That works for me. But let's play a little guessing game real quick. Is it Ike Davis in the lefty-righty matchup against Alvarez?
No, it would have been last year, though. Actually, no, it wouldn't have been 2 years ago.
Encarnacion, righty-righty against Tillman?
This is interesting. But he just owns the Blue Jays' soul, and every time I watch him pitch, the way he just attacks hitters and he just doesn't walk anyone against Toronto. I just don't understand why he's such a against Toronto, and for that reason, just because it's pretty much the only time I ever watched Tillman pitch, I'm basically always off hitters against him. It's been a big mistake this month because he's just been getting steamrolled. But Edwin and the Jays, they kind of are looking like the April Jays a little bit right now. They're not hitting all week, and even in games against a guy like Ubaldo Jimenez where they were drawing their walks, they just weren't able to capitalize. And until they start getting their timely hitting, I'm not sure I'm going to pay big money for many of their hitters. Yes, that is right. I'm going against my bottom line thing that says stay calm and stack the Jays.
It would say that if we weren't on an old school hangout, but we had to go old school today yet again because it's not me who is the jinx. Yesterday it was Stevie. Today it was Warren. Amber had to pull the plug on him. So there we go. That wasn't fired. All right, Matt Adams. That's the last guess. That's what chat thinks the person you're forgetting is.
Nope. Honestly, I got it. Okay, I mentioned James Shields has really, really struggled. Here's a guy who no one almost ever takes, and that is Jose Abreu. He's just been an absolute freak this year at home, and he's priced right around Miggy and Goldschmidt, but 19 home runs, a 600 slugging percentage this year. That is just insane. So I'm definitely on Jose Abreu. It's just because Shields has not been sharp of late, and when Abreu hits it, he makes amazing contact because he strikes out a lot, but when he puts it in play, I mean, you see with the 600 slugging, he does damage. I love Jose Abreu today. That's the guy.
All right, good. But people do pick him. They don't overlook him. But let's talk about second base. Finally, Robinson Cano gets to take a weak righty to town. Take him deep, take him home. He's in Safeco Field where he has a grand total of 1 home run on the season. He has 3, all told. But that 3, he is 3rd in Major League batting average. So we can't complain. Hits in 10 of his last 11 games, 4 multi-hit games. I really like Cano in all formats today, and I'm doing everything I can to get him in my lineup. If I'm not going with Cano, I'm looking at Brandon Phillips and Scooter Gennett, who are both in the lineup today, and they're at about the same price point. And then potentially Ian Kinsler. Again, today he's taking on Ricky Nolasco, and while we always like Kinsler against lefties, Nolasco is a bad pitcher. Nolasco's got like some, 280 or 290 batting average against so far this season, so I have no problem taking anybody against him. So that's kind of my 4 second basemen that I'm looking for.
You're not mentioning someone on your favorite team.
Would that be Anthony Rendon?
Yeah, what's going on here?
I don't know. I'm a little nervous about the cold bats, so I'm not totally on him. Normally I'd be all about Ian Desmond today too, and I'm not. So not against it. They just haven't made it on any of my rosters or in my write-ups.
Yeah, well, that means Rendon is going to hit a home run today. Just a theory I have, and He is a 370 batting average and a 1,000 OPS versus lefties, so he definitely has to be considered. But I'm on the same page with you or I'm on the same page as you with regards to Robinson Cano. I think that facing an awful righty who just got lit up by Cleveland's lefties, he has a FIP of 6.5 against left-handed bats. He doesn't strike any out. He walks a bunch, and I can actually see a Mariners stack doing really, really well today. So don't be afraid to use Cano, Seager, whoever bats left-handed on that team. It just seems like it's changing every day. Logan Morrison's back now. Maybe Dustin
Ackley, maybe James Jones.
Yeah.
Seager, you mentioned. There's some Willie Bloomquist. There's some lefty bats there.
Is Willie Bloomquist a lefty? Or is he...
No, I just threw that out there now. I can't remember. I think
you just like him because he had that hustle double last night.
I like him because he's old, and he's been with the Mariners. Like, he grew up just outside of Seattle. Actually was in college with his cousin way back in the day, and he was a punk kid. Willie was a punk kid playing, what do they call that? Not AAU, American Legion ball. So that was my little moment there in the sun of sort of knowing who Willie Bloomquist is. And now he's like, 37 and on the downward slope of his career. But that's okay because the Mariners like to bring back all the old guys for one last try. Just look at Griffey and several others. Ibanez more than once. It's good times. But enough about the Mariners. That's covering my second baseman. Anything else, or shall we move on to the hot corner here?
Well, don't forget about Seager, the other Mariner there.
Well, that's an argument. Is he third base or second base? Most of the sites that aren't dual position eligibility have him at third base. So I'm going to mention him. Don't you worry there, Bills. But
okay, I'll wait for you to mention that. Here's another name. In case it's bad, Chris Tillman. I don't think I've had a show where I don't mention Brett Lawrie, so have to keep that going. But in all seriousness, now that he's second base eligible, he actually finds my lineups a lot more because of his power potential at a position that is so starved for power that Robinson Cano and his 3 home runs cost $4,700 on DraftKings, which is the same price as guys like Nelson Cruz, who has 21 home runs, and just other elite hitters. So while I like Cano, I hate his price on DraftKings, and I'll probably have him on a couple of lineups, but honestly, really not going to be that much. And when I say a couple, I mean I've kind of steered towards tournaments a little more recently where I'm doing multi-entry. So say I have 10 teams, he might find his way onto 1 or 2 just as a part of a stack or as a filler on a cheap stack, if you know what I mean. But Lawrie, if you want the expensive bats who can hit for power at other positions, 3,600. He does have 11 home runs this year, and Tillman, I believe he gave up like 35 last year, and he had an awful month of May and a bad start to June. So Laurie's definitely in play, and I'm sure chat will let me know that I always mention Brett Lawrie, but it's okay.
Yes, and they had a good point. D. Gordon, I didn't mention him. I had him written down with my shortstops, but obviously Hanley is the shortstop there now, and most sites have moved Gordon over to second base. So don't forget about him. He of the home run last night.
Yeah, D. Gordon. I love him. I mean, every time he gets on base, he's running and facing Bronson Arroyo with his 36 stolen bases. I think that D. Gordon makes for a fine play.
All right. You know who made for a really fine play yesterday there, Warren? That would be one Evan Longoria. Longo Dongo. He's got 3 now. He only had 2 last month. He's back.
Oh, please. Prince Fielder's jealous.
Me and Prince Rodano, I got a new person, Evan.
Yes, Evan.
Going against another weak righty who's exhibiting this season only reverse splits, but Brad Peacock not the best pitcher, so I don't mind taking Longoria again today. But Josh Donaldson, righty-lefty. So on the days we don't look for Brandon Moss, we look for who, Warren?
Josh Donaldson, but he's 0 for his last 30. Does that scare you a little bit?
Not at all. It's Vidal Nuno. Come on. Everybody gets a home run off him, right?
I guess. I mean, 0 for 30 even has me off him a little bit, but I definitely like the play. I just think he's too much right now for a guy who's just doesn't have a hit in 6 games. But
well, he's saving them all up. He is saving them all up for today, Father's Day. Double dong.
Maybe. Yes, Father's Day. That will make him end his slump. You never know. But yeah, it's definitely a perfect matchup. And if he were hitting, even like 5 for his last 30, I wouldn't even bat an eyelash. But I definitely like him today a lot. I want to know what you think of Chris Johnson. I mentioned that San Diego's been awful against righties, and Johnson hits lefties very well this year. And well, he had an awful start. He's actually been hitting well, and he had those 2 good hitting games, or those 3 good hitting games at Coors Field, and he followed that up with a home run 2 nights ago against the Angels, and then yesterday it was back to old Chris Johnson, or early season Chris Johnson, and he's he's just someone who hits lefties really well, and San Diego gives up a ton of fly balls, so the opportunity is definitely there. And I had him on one team 2 nights ago, and he was literally 0.1% owned. I was the only one who had him when he hit that home run, so that was kind of fun. But yeah, if you want a good tournament play, there it is.
All right. Well, as Colonel Jess would say, Santiago is a substandard pitcher. And his death, while tragic, probably saved lives. There we go. Yes, Chris Johnson. I think he's going to order the code red on Santiago today. I have no problem putting him in the lineup as an incredible punt play still on most sites, because that's how poor his season has gone thus far. Let's see. Adrian Beltre, former Mariner, sucked for 5 years while he was drawing paychecks with the Mariners, and rediscovered his mojo when he went to Boston and hung out with David Ortiz, another former Mariner, and now he's pretty much badass with Texas. He actually is a better hitter when he's in Safeco as a visitor than when he spent his 5 years there as a Mariner. He's good again in righty-righty matchups, and I have no problem running him out there against Iwakuma today. I believe he is batting .400 in his career against Iwakuma. Now, I'm not a huge BVP person, but I am going to throw that one out. So I do like Beltre as kind of a differentiation play today. Even though I'm very strong or very high on Iwakuma, I could still see him giving up 2 runs and one of them being a solo shot to Beltre. So I'll have Beltre in a few lineups. We mentioned Kyle Seager, Josh Donaldson, Longoria, Chris Johnson's your punt play. That, for me, kind of covers the majority of the third baseman. Warren,
one guy here.
Well, if we're going to count Brett Laurie as a
no,
Valbuena as a third baseman, no.
You're gonna not like yourself for not recognizing this.
I think you're going to have to help me. I don't think I scrolled down below Chris Johnson. So Warren, can you tell me who is priced cheaper? And I looked on a couple other sites, and this is the case after you pointed it out to me. But who is cheaper than Chris Johnson today?
Okay, well, I know what you're implying right now. David Wright on Draft Street, 3,700. If you're playing on Draft Street, please get him in your lineup. But still have not guessed the guy I was thinking of right now.
Lonnie Chisenhall against
Manny Machado against Jay Happ batting second.
But Machado, he doesn't have it. His knee. It's all about the knee. He can't turn and get power. So I'm nervous. And he's one of my favorite players.
I don't know. He's got 2 doubles in his last 2 games, 5 hits, batting second, 3,400. It's a good price. He's really good in the field too. He looks healthy.
Well, we'll see. You may talk me into getting him on a couple lineups. I got a little miffed because I wrote him up yesterday. And anyway, enough about that. The damn Blue Jays and Orioles, the run scoring fest didn't happen. So I'm sad on all things Baltimore today. Is that it? Anybody else? Todd Frazier, maybe?
No, I think we've given them enough plays.
All right. We got 16 minutes left.
7, you're good.
All right, 16 minutes left, Warren. Let's go shortstop. How many shortstops do you like? I like 1, 2, 3, 4. I like Starlin Castro, righty-righty matchup. All 9 of his home runs this year against righties. A.J. Burnett is a righty. You do the math. Jose Reyes, who Bills will talk about in just a moment. J.J. Hardy, for various reasons, I like him today. Jed Lowry, pretty much like him every day. Those are my 4. So talk a little bit about Reyes today. I know he excites you.
Too much. 5,000 for Reyes. I'll play him on other sites, but on DraftKings, he's actually not even in play in my opinion. And while he's really healthy, I'd only play him at this price if we were at home in like a cupcake matchup. And the matchup is good, but I mean, it's totally fadeable because Reyes is the type of guy who's a fantastic hitter, but on his big days, he usually gets like a few hits, maybe a run or two on a stolen base. But I mean, you can match that by finding a cheaper guy who hits a home run or something. And speaking of cheaper guys who hit home runs, or at least haven't for about a year, but J.J. Hardy, you mentioned, is today finally the day? I'm not someone who likes to just repeatedly call things.
No, it's not, because last week you said it would be the 22nd, so you can't call it today. You've already called it for the 22nd.
I didn't know J Happ would be pitching.
Well,
everything.
Icon Joe has it today, so if you read his article, he already laid claim to that. So you can't pick him today. Hell, yesterday I called him for 2 home runs yesterday trying to help him out, but I'm done. No more J.J. Hardy. Not calling for the home run. Dude,
even if he doesn't hit a home run, and J.J. Hardy's becoming the 2014 version of Josh Hamilton, where we continue to recommend the guy and he continues to do nothing, but at least he's hitting for average, right?
Yeah, he's producing, just not home runs. It's now become a thing. I mean, they're talking about it on ESPN even, so we're not the only ones that are kind of playing the game of when is J.J. Hardy going to hit a home run. But for those of you who like to read, there's a little article that's on our front page. It is by Icon Fantasy Joe. It is his Sunday Daily Plays column. It is a good one. Check it out. He will explain to you why he thinks J.J. Hardy will hit a home run today. Okay, Warren, any other shortstops there? And chat says I'm liking a lot of Cubs. Don't go overboard on them. Just here and there. One per team. You either do Castro or Rizzo. And then if you're looking for a punt, throw in Valbuena. I don't think he's a bad play. Scherholtz, rock bottom, lefty-righty matchup. I don't mind that one either. But that's kind of about it for the Cubs. Don't go too crazy. Back to shortstops.
One more sleeper for you.
Okay.
And I think if I gave you 5 guesses, I don't think you'd guess this one. And that's what makes him a great sleeper.
Andrelton Simmons.
He's one. It's not the guy who I was thinking of, though.
I give up then.
Give up. I gave you 5. But anyway.
Well, we got 13 minutes. We got a lot to cover, and it's riveting watching me guess. So there we go.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun watching you guess wrong, too. Brandon Crawford for the San Francisco Giants. Facing Juan Nicasio, lefties have a 960 OPS against him, and Crawford has been tearing the cover off the ball in the last 10 days. 12 hits, 5 of them for extra bases, 5 walks, an OPS of almost 1,200 in June. And this is not a guy who's known for his power, but while he's hitting for extra bases, he's got 25 extra base hits out of his 55 hits this year. So he's not known as a power hitter, but he's doing it this year. He's got a 456 slugging this year, and he's going to be a guy who I'm going to start to use more consistently because not many people tend to use him, and all he's done all month and at the end of May is produce.
Yeah, he likes to strike out a lot too, though, so that makes it a little difficult to take him on.
So does Evan Longoria.
But Evan Longoria is special to me, Warren.
Yes.
I don't have that same relationship with Brandon Crawford.
He's different.
All right.
He's different than everyone else.
Yes. Any other shortstops, or shall we go on into the outfield? I'm trying to. The whole internet is slow, but I'm calling up a rapid fire max. I am calling up a pick 5, and lead us off with your outfield plays of the day, Warren, that are not named Jose Bautista.
Okay. Last shortstop I just want to mention is Everth Cabrera for minimum on Draft Street if you need a stolen base potential guy and someone who just really needs to get on once and score a run to, I guess, pay off his salary. That's the guy to choose. Facing Daisuke walks a lot of hitters. So, going to outfield, there are a lot today. I really like Justin Upton. I mentioned Santiago, awful against righties this year. Extreme fly ball pitcher, and Justin Upton has just teared the cover off the ball against left-handed pitching. So I like him a lot, especially on Sunday Night Baseball. Good. I could actually see him hitting 2 home runs tonight. It's one of those, not someone who just goes out and throws that out there for every hitter. If there's one guy who's going to do it tonight, it's going to be Upton. So that's my call. I obviously like Yoenis Cespedes against any lefty, and that is still the case today. No reason not to be. Another giant, Angel Pagan, facing Nicasio. Again, 960 OPS versus lefties this year. Already 15 home runs allowed in total. He gave up 17 all of last year, and he's been worse on the road. So it's not just a Coors thing. Pagan, he's hitting 330 at home, 11 stolen bases this year. Doesn't have too much power, but he tends to, I guess, reach value with his hits, his runs, and his stolen bases, and he's pretty reasonably priced. So I like Pagan a lot. Scrolling down, I mentioned Kyle Blanks briefly earlier. I think he's a terrific play on DraftKings, even in cash games, because if we're willing to punt other positions and take a risk at a 0, I don't see why it wouldn't take that chance with Kyle Blanks. 833 OPS since being recalled, and he's had a good approach at the plate. He's drawing walks, and against Nuno, I believe he actually had a pretty good game against him. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but I think he had like a double and a walk or something against him. So Blanks is a guy who I think is just I think he's really overhated in the daily fantasy community because of his first 2 games going like 0 for 8 or something. But you have to look past that. You can't hold grudges, and it's definitely time to consider him. He's hit both of his home runs at home as well.
All right, I'm going to list a few of mine, but I'm going to throw this in chat. We got a little grudge match here for me and Hutch Boy. Somehow we tied in a game. We've had a nice little back and forth here, but let's throw out there an all-day 20-man for $5. You guys jump on in. Let's see how we do. You've been watching the show. You pretty much know who I'm going to pick. See if you can beat me. All right. Well, see how many of you can beat me. That's probably a better way to phrase that. Outfield. I agree. Excuse me. The hiccups now.
Oh, that's always good for a show.
I know, it's awesome. That is good TV. Upton, Hickupton, 2 home runs. Not a bad call. Yeah, if you're going to pick somebody, do that. I really like Nelson Cruz today.
Yep.
I like Adam Jones today.
Yeah.
Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, sure. We haven't mentioned Vance Worley's immaculate return.
Yeah, he's up from AAA or Europe, wherever he was pitching last. I'm liking the Dodgers today. So whoever's in there from Puig, Kemp, Ethier, hell, you can even roll Van Slyke out there. I think they're a good plays. Davis, Hunter, Jackson. Once again, Warren, it's a day ending in a Y. I'm on air, and the Tigers are taking on a righty. They all hit righties well. Same-handed matchups. I keep talking about it. Don't mess with it. It's Ricky Nolasco, who is not good. Here's one I'm a little nervous about. Brandon Workman. I was looking at his minor league stats, which were horrendous, over a 5 ERA at Pawtucket. He's been really good so far in the majors. So where does that leave us with regards to Michael Brantley and Michael Bourne? Mike and Mike. Where are you on those guys?
Well, I probably wouldn't take Bourne regardless, just because he just has no power and he's extremely overpriced. But Brantley, on the other hand, I would not shy away from him. I know that Workman has been pretty good so far this year, but not sure how long that will last. And lefties hit him very well in the minors as well. You mentioned he was struggling, so I don't know what the deal is there, but he was really bad this year in the minors and the majors last year. So I think eventually things will even. And yeah, I'm really not too worried about taking any Cleveland bats. I think that, with all the options, people tend to, I guess, just fade whatever they're uncertain of or take the path of least resistance. So I don't think many will be on Cleveland. So they make a nice contrarian team stack for sure.
All right, we talked about the Mariners. You got Saunders, James Jones, Dustin Ackley, and Logan Morrison. Some sites Logan is first base, some sites he's outfield. But they're all lefties. They're all in play. Trout is awesome. Let's just throw that out there. Not that anybody needs to hear that, but especially against lefties. I really like him today. Josh Hamilton. Are you ready for fun with small sample sizes, Warren? Guess what his WOBA is this year against lefties?
Probably like 700 or something silly.
Not a bad guess. 506. Of course, it's only just 24 at bats, but that's a big number. That's a fun number. So those are more or less the outfielders that I have. I'm really not going cheap at outfield today. I think if I'm going cheap, we'll look at J.J. Hardy. We will look at some of the scrubby-dub first basemen I mentioned with Loney and Mauer and potentially Gannett or Phillips. One other guy I noticed was really cheap on a couple sites is Kendrick, second baseman for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. What do you think about Howie? Or is this? I'm blanking. Is he lefty or righty?
He's a righty.
Oh, so we like this because it's against Minor, righty-lefty matchup. So he should be in play too.
I don't like him on DraftKings where he seems to be permanently stuck at 4,000, but on FanDuel I believe he's close to minimum. But I don't know. He's not really an exciting guy, but at his price on FanDuel, he becomes more of a punt play.
Yeah, punt play and lefty-righty. He's going to be in the lineup most likely. You can feel free to put him out there in your early lock games, even if you don't have late swap like our sponsor DraftKings. Okay, we got a rapid fire max. No pick 5. I don't know where Oranges is, but he knows we talk about it. Now, yesterday Stevie and I got 4 out of 5 on the rapid fire, Warren. So we got some tough shoes to fill. Tough shoes.
We got 5.
All right, are you ready?
I am.
Miguel Cabrera versus Joey Bats. Ooh.
Miguel Cabrera.
Okay, good. I thought I was going to have to talk you off the ledge there. Oh my! You know what? DraftKings has this, or Draft Day has a sense of humor. You'll get the theme here shortly. Jose Reyes or Jason Kipnis? Now remember, price is not a factor. You don't like him on DraftKings, but you could get Reyes here.
Yeah. Give me Reyes. That's good exposure to have to him.
Okay, talking about some exposure, would you prefer Michael Brantley or Edwin Encarnacion?
All Blue Jays here or something. I don't know what. Yeah, I guess Draft is trying to suck people into stack Jays in this thing, but I'm gonna go with Edwin in this case.
Okay, I'm on board with that one. David Wright or, wait for it, Melky Cabrera.
Let me guess. The next one's like, I don't even know, someone in Brett Laurie. But yeah, give me. God, I don't like either of these guys today. But give me Melky.
I would agree on Melky. I don't mind Wright. There's another guy I didn't mention is Pump. Like he's dirt cheap on a bunch of sites, like below Chris Johnson. Like look for Chris Johnson and go lower, and you'll find David Wright on half of the sites today. And lastly, we have David Ortiz or Asdrubal Cabrera.
Ooh, who's pitching for Cleveland again? I am blanking.
Kluber, lefty righty, but it is okay. Corey Kluber.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. They really suck you in here. Great hitter against an awful pitcher.
Yeah,
I can see both of these guys going 0 for 4. You know what? I'm going to take Ortiz. I don't like the matchup at all, but I just don't like Asdrubal as a hitter very much.
All right, well, I'm going to take Asdrubal, so we are disagreeing on that one. But we are with Miggy, Jose Reyes, Edwin Encarnacion, Melky Cabrera, and then splitting on Big Papi and Asdrubal Cabrera. We'll do 11 to win 100. That sounds like fun. All right, 2 minutes left. We'll give a quick refresh here to Star Street. Chat, I don't see too many questions here. I'm going to look here. Ruiz or Avila at catcher, FanDuel, early slate?
I'm
going to go Ruiz.
Yeah, me too.
Because you can say, Chooch! Better nickname. Let's see here. What about Pierce at first base?
Steve Pierce?
I think so.
Yeah, he's batting 5th. He's in a good spot. And I've seen J-Hap do his thing many times where he starts throwing changeups in the dirt to try and quote-unquote fool hitters early in at-bats, and he ends up walking them. And he tends to do that with the bigger bats who he kind of doesn't want anything to do with, and that could be Adam Jones and Nelson Cruz. So Pierce could have a ton of RBI chances today if Hap is a scaredy Hap.
That is a good one. Miggy versus Bautista. Let's refresh it. We went with Miggy.
Yeah.
Do we like Mike Adams? Yes! Could he hit a home run for a third straight day? Yes, he could. Although I do like Fister as a pitcher, he actually can strike some people out, and he's sort of transformed from a fly ball pitcher like he was in his early days in Safeco Field and again in Comerica Park in Detroit to more of a ground ball pitcher, which is kind of interesting that he's done that. But he does a great job of keeping the ball down. I still don't mind Matt Adams. He's middle of the road pricing on most sites, and clearly he's locked in after his DL stint, so no issues there. I think that's going to do it for us today, Warren. Any final thoughts that you may have?
No, not really. I just don't think today's the day to stay calm and stack Blue Jays. I don't think, at least.
Well, Draft Day may be agreeing with you or trying to disagree with you. I can't tell yet. But for those of you who are around, I'm going to throw the link in chat one more time. It is a public league, so anybody can jump in. But we'll see. It's become sort of a little tradition. See if Hutch and I, we win some, we lose some, and damn it, we tied yesterday with a completely unique lineup. I think we shared only one or two players, and it wasn't the pitcher. So anyway, very interesting there. Hard to get ties in daily fantasy baseball with all the quarter point scoring and all that. So we'll see. But with that, I would like to say once again, Happy Father's Day to everyone out there in Grinders Live land. For DraftKings, for RotoGrinders, for BillsFan777, I am EMac. Good luck, gamers.